If you want to cry, you wait.
Well, before we unofficially start, a lot of you guys always ask why all of us siblings are so creative. It's because of our dad. And then our mommy is so beautiful. She's the normal one. She keeps us all like sane because the rest of us are very like artsy and creative, and you can like go off in other directions. So, so are we ready?
Yeah, I
Okay.
needed water.
Is that rolling?
Ready? Oh, oops. We were already on camera. Okay, so welcome everybody. My name is Luisa, and I am going to be the moderator today for the panel discussion on Alexandra's project, Calligraphic Dancer. And I am Alexandra's sister, and I'm also here moderating the panel discussion, which we're gonna, you probably have questions about the performance that you just saw, and so we're going to definitely probably touch on those questions. We're going to talk about the project, and we are at the very end going to open the floor up for any other questions or topics that maybe we don't cover. So just hang tight with any questions that you might have, especially if it's anything that we don't cover. And I'm so honored to be moderating here because I love my sister very much, and I know that she's been working on this project for years. I've seen her grow as an artist ever since she was very, very young. She used to draw on the walls in her bedroom, and I used to tell her that that was not good, but at the same time I was like, those are really cool. So a little confusing. So she and I have been best friends ever since the day she was born. So I asked for her and I bought her because we have two brothers. And I would ask my mom like for a sister, and so finally I got her, and so I love her very much. And I am also, she wanted me to moderate because she and I collaborate a lot of times together as far as work goes, not just as belly dancers, but because I practice as an interior design consultant with my company LuMo Designs. And so I have my bachelor's and my master's degree in architecture and design. So what happens is once in a while I'm lucky enough to get a project where the client also wants to have an original piece of artwork in their home. And so she and I collaborate on the scale or the size of the canvas, the colors, and things like that, and then she takes over with the artistic side and whatever the client wants to express in the picture. So she wanted me to kind of be a part of this for that reason, and so I'm very honored. And of course, other than that, we both share that we are professional belly dancers here at Belly Motions, and this is like our home away from home. So we're happy to be here for those reasons. And without further delay, I'd like to have our panelists here have actually participated in the Calligraphic Dancer project with Alexandra, which we're going to talk about. And I'd like to have everyone up here, including Alexandra, just say a little bit of an introduction about themselves. And if you ladies wouldn't mind just saying something about what dance means to you. And so we'll start here with Alexandra.
Oh, thank you. Yay. And thank you all for coming. This is very exciting. A little bit about me. I graduated with a degree in Fine Arts and Art History from FIU, and I've been pursuing that since in tandem with Middle Eastern dance. And that's really all I do. I paint and I work, and I do commissions for people who want a special artwork for Middle Eastern dance. For example, Jeannie, she's here today. This is her beautiful painting that she hired me for, La Tia. And if you have any questions about commissioning work or how that happens, basically it's hiring me to paint something very special for you. You can ask myself or Jeannie. So it's one of the things that I do. As far as the rest of the artwork on the walls, I guess I'll take you through a very mini tour, but what's in the front is part of the Calligraphic Dancer series. I mix figurative work with the characters, and I'll explain that in a little bit. Hi, come in! Hi! And the other works are a mix of what I do. I paint, I collaborate with other artists to do photography work, or certain other projects. So it's very exciting for me and such an honor to work with wonderful people. And I'm very honored to be up here with these beautiful ladies who have worked with me on this project. So I'm going to pass it over to them, and they're going to introduce themselves. Go ahead.
Okay, hi, my name is Zoila, and I've been dancing at Belly Motions for 10 years. I really enjoy it. I've learned a lot here, and it's become part of my life, dancing. I also do theater. I'm learning theater at Florida Atlantic University now.
My name is Gina. I've been here at Belly Motions for 3.5 years. I never danced before I came to Belly Motions, so this is an incredible experience for me. The dance just brings serenity and joy to my life, and I will never stop.
Hello, my name is Jeannie, and I've danced since I was little, but then I stopped. And I used to drive by Eugene Road and see the motions. No, I can't go in there. No, and one day I did, and I found a home. These beautiful ladies, they just make you feel welcome, and you fall in love not only with them and it's with the music. They teach you what the art is. And they're there. So that's the beauty. I think dance, music is a passion, you have it in your heart, and they teach you how to bring it out so you feel happy with yourself and with the world. It's a journey.
Hi, my name is Karen Vasquez. I've been in Belly Motions 4 or 5 years on and off. I had never danced before. 2 or 3 years before coming, I started tango that I thought was very passionate, and I loved it, and I realized that the importance of having a partner. And then I needed something where I could express myself and not be a reflection of what my partner wanted, and that's why I started here. And I think that's what I found here among these amazing women, where I think we've created a sisterhood, and it's been an amazing experience.
My name is Olga. I always liked belly dancing, but I never knew where to go. And one day, my daughter told me, "Mom, there is a brochure about Miami-Dade South Campus having belly dance for beginners on Saturdays, which is very convenient for your schedule." So we both went, my daughter and I. And I remember those days, I knew nothing from belly dance. I didn't know how to shimmy or nothing. And I started that way with my daughter, and I was there for about 3 or 4 years, and then I changed here to Belly Motions, and I have been here since then. I love belly dancing. For me, is kind of a therapy in my busy life. And every year I say I'm going to retire doing the shows, not from classes, but doing the shows. And then I find a way to register for another one.
My name is Amelia, and I've been dancing since I was a kid, but I've been with Belly Motions for almost 3 years now. And I think dancing is just a way of expressing ourselves, and we can do it whenever and wherever.
My name is Amy. I think I started in 2008 here. I had danced salsa for years, but I had a small child, and the salsa is a late night scene. It's very different. And I saw this studio. I'd never belly danced before, and I walked in. It was just the friendliest environment. It's such a nice break from my more cerebral day job, and the greatest group of women I think you'll ever meet. So I don't come often because I get swamped, but when I do, I very fortunate to have found Belly Motions.
Great, excellent. So we've got an excellent group of women here, and they participated in the Calligraphic Dancer with Alexandra. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to ask Alexandra and the women here some questions, and so we're going to get to know this project a little better. So my first question is for Alexandra, or Pootie, as they call her. What is your Calligraphic Dancer project, and how can the public interact with it? And, as well, I understand that you taught the participants about the artwork as a workshop. Why and how did you do this?
Okay, well, Calligraphic Dancer is an interactive project that I've been working on since 2012, and it is a dance language made up of 10 characters in a symbolic style, and more specifically a calligraphic style. So, for example, this signifies snake arms. As some of you know, Middle Eastern dance or belly dance has, and it varies between schools, but there's a vocabulary of movements. And so I tried to involve all of that into a visual form, and not so much a verbal and physical form, but something visual that maybe it can be read. And so, for example, this would be snake arms. And how I teach it is in workshops. I invite students, like these ladies I invited to a workshop, and we did about 3 to 4 classes. I teach them the language, we go over drills, and eventually we perform it to the scroll that you all saw in the video, which is, it's read from right to left, really. So if you were to see it on a panel, like a painting, you would read it from right to left. So I'm sort of honoring how Arabic is read right to left. And it's calligraphic, which means it's in the style that I paint with a brush and ink and paper. So it has a fluidity and it has a movement.
And those of you that dance as well, we learn isolations or movements as belly dancers. And once you get a little bit more advanced in the dance, we actually do what we call layering movements. So we don't always just do one isolation. We sometimes do 2 moves at once or 3. So do you have some kind of way to represent that when we dance?
Yes, absolutely. I love layering. I love shimmies and figure eights and all mounted on top of one another. So what I would do is, for example, this would be snake arms with shimmies. And depending on the dominant move and how we actually see the character, if one character is faded more than the other, the one that is sharper and heavier with paint and darker is the dominant movement, whereas this one doesn't show it as well. But and then versus, let's say the snake arms were a little more faded, it would mean that it's not the dominant move, but shimmy more so than you do snake arms, let's say. So yes, I have movements layered.
And footwork would be part of that as well.
Absolutely. In some of the characters up there, no, I don't believe I have it in this one.
Footwork meaning, for those of you who don't dance, would be whenever you see a belly dancer travel and leave her central place, we call that footwork as dancers.
So for example, there's 2 types of footwork. There's one that looks like a box, although you don't have to travel in a box, and there's steps. There's guidelines to the language, but there's lots of flexibility. So for example, if you see a figure 8, you can choose to do whichever figure 8, whether rib cage or hips, any sort of figure 8, as long as it's that move. So there's flexibility, but there are guidelines.
So there's creative room.
Absolutely, yes.
Excellent. And my next question is to the group. And I think we can start over here with Amy, and then we'll work our way this way. Why did you agree to participate in Alexandra's project?
I think for me there was a couple of things. One was timing, which was my mom had passed away in March, and I took a break for a couple months. And she asked me at a time where I was ready to come back and do something and needed to come back. So that was one. The second is I love Alexandra's dancing. There's something that I really want to mimic. She always has there's an elegance, such a relaxed facial expression, so I felt like I could learn from her. And the third thing is the project was so cool. I study languages, the idea of language and art and music and dance all coming together just seemed really enticing, so the timing was right. I really admire her dancing. The project just seemed so engaging. It was hard to say no.
I like that you study languages, because this is a language.
Yeah, well, Spanish.
The reason I came to Belly Motion is because Alexandra performed at my sister's wedding, and we all loved it. So I'm like, whatever she needs to teach should be like something wow, and so it is. So yeah, the project was really interesting because she was teaching it in languages as well. I speak various other languages and program as well, so it's a different language, and it's interesting just to be part of it.
Well, for me, being Alexandra's student, she one time, way back, she talked in class about the project that she was having in mind. And I thought it was very interesting because it's a way to communicate no matter what language you speak. If you see the symbols, you can do it, and you create your own movements. As for myself, I had to adapt the ones that fit the best for me. So I always thought that it was a very good project.
This was the first symbol, right? I didn't have to tell you that one. I showed this one to her once, and she's like, "Oh, turns."
I'm going to copy Olga a little bit. A couple of years ago, maybe 2, 3, 4 years ago, I was in one of Alexandra's classes, and she drew a symbol. It was a figure 8, and I immediately knew what I had to do. I knew that if that's what she was proposing, I was going to be able to do it, and I was going to have that freedom of expression to do it whichever way I felt that my body could interpret it, and with whatever passion I felt in that music. So I thought there was a kind of a connection. So when she said she was starting this project, I thought it was an amazing idea, and I said yes. I mean, she had hooked me from the start.
Well, when I read about it, I thought it was very interesting. So this is interesting. I mean, I want to be part of it, and I want to give her all of my support as my teacher, my favorite artist. So basically that, and I said, wow, this is going to take off, and I can say I was ready.
I'm going to copy her.
Kids class.
She's not a kids teacher. I was completely intrigued by the concept. It was amazing. It was bringing me very intellectual and taking something that's beautiful and physical and putting it in 2 dimensions, taking 3 dimensions into 2 dimensions. It just kind of blew my mind. And yeah, I wanted to be there from day one. Because we're going to Paris, we're going to
traveling.
Yes.
Well, the reason why I accepted to be part of this project is because I saw her so enthusiastic about it for years ago. And I said, finally, it's happening, it's taking place. And also the fact that, writing dance, it's a way of giving value to things, because in our culture, we kind of privilege writing over orality, and the mind over the body. but dancing is part of the body connected to the mind. So you can see that, you are reading, you are interpreting symbols, and you are dancing. So I think that it's a holistic way of putting things together.
It's funny because sort of like what you're saying makes me just think right now as you're saying it, how so Middle Eastern dance, belly dance, is one of the most ancient art forms or dances that we have, but it's only been in like the 20th century that it's been formalized into something technical. So as belly dancers, we have like a vocabulary and we know what figure eights are, but like some parts of the world call this move this and some parts that, and it's a very like directional when you're talking about movements and isolations. It's very much about like, okay, well move your hip to the right and push your weight to the right and then lift the right hip and drop the right hip. So it's a very directional kind of like, what does the actual mean? It's not like ballet where you have like a pas de bourrée and you have like all these like, you have like an actual language that goes with it. So this kind of helps formalize it a little bit more. So we don't actually have too much of that, and it's interesting to me, it always is interesting because it's the oldest dance form, but it's also very new as a technical and studied art. It's actually pretty modern in that sense, in the sense that before the 20th century, like you didn't really study it. And so that's kind of cool. Just like thinking, but so a couple of you for my next question. Olga and Karen, you kind of already answered this, but this will also be for you participants. It's about what your first reaction was when you saw like your first like symbol. Did you know what it was? What was your reaction? We can start here with Zoila and then go back, but I think Karen and Olga, you kind of mentioned it, so you won't have to answer this one. Yeah, so.
My first reaction to it was like, oh, it looks like Oriental also, like those painting brushes. So it has a connection with the Orient, and at the same time it looks beautiful like a painting. So I kind of connected in an artistic way.
In an artistic way.
I associated it with painting.
Did you know what the move was? Or not really?
No, the first one I didn't,
Okay.
honestly.
And Miss Gina?
Well, actually, the first move was the turns, and to me it looked like hieroglyphics. The temples in Egypt, really true.
That's what I always think of too, yeah.
Yeah, it's super freaking cool. And I thought it was just kind of a brilliant concept to take this and put it in some kind of way that it'll transcend any language. It could be Arabic, it could be Egyptian, French, Italian, Spanish, whatever, but it transcends all languages.
To me, I was like blown away. It's like actually I am reading these signs and I'm doing something with them. I'm moving my arms, I'm moving my body to something strange. It was like, wow, this is awesome. That was my reaction. I'm doing something that she's teaching me how to read, and I'm doing something. And nobody can read this.
This is secret code. So, Emil?
So, I missed day one, so the turns I didn't get it as fast. But the first one I saw was a figure eight. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's a figure eight. And instead of like an infinite sign, that's what I would think of first. And then, but my favorite one was the shimmy ones. Just like dots all over. It's like, oh yeah, it's so happy and whatnot.
Glitter! Father. Well, I have a question for you. If you saw this, would you know, how would your body want to move if you saw this?
I wouldn't know. I would go like
Can you, I would do like that. Like this?
Yeah, I would go like this.
Okay, that's kind of like, okay. What about this one?
Well, I wanted to ask you, is there any amount of symbols in this dictionary?
10.
It's only 10. Not that bad.
So far.
But there are combinations, aren't there?
You could combine them, yeah, you could
That
layer
would be a
them,
new word then.
but it would be
A new expression and a new movement.
So when we say layering, belly dancers, that means that we take one move and another move and we dance them together. Like,
snake arms, which are these. And then if you want to shimmy right on top,
you layer.
Layer right on top.
So that's what that means when we say layering. So if you're not a belly dancer, that's hopefully helps a little bit, yeah.
And that's probably the beauty of it, because there's so few symbols that it tends to more creativity.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not structured in a language where everything has its own meaning and we're not allowed to go out of that box. We take in whatever it is, these limited symbols, and our creativity, I guess, is unleashed. So I think it's amazing.
I kind of like
Yes.
that idea, because if
It's another paradigm in dance.
you can create, get the bunch of the 10
Yeah.
symbols and put them together, you can create your own dance. Because if you ask us as students, or just go dance, it's really kind of a little bit harder for us. Because
You're like,
I mean, it's a lot of what you do first. But, having that as your guideline, we can actually get more comfortable with doing your own solo eventually, too.
Exactly, it's like another paradigm. We're not learning something that someone gave to us. We're actually creating it with a certain language.
That might not look right, you go, ooh, okay, we'll do that one, nice and put it aside a little bit. But, you can start creating your own dance.
So what you're saying,
all the different symbols,
so what I'm hearing is that you feel a little bit more as a student, more relaxed when we say, hey, as opposed to like saying, okay, now everybody, I want put on a song, whoop, okay, now everybody dance. Are you telling me that you're feeling more comfortable if I said, okay, like follow these symbols however you like, and now dance? Like, does this make it more comfortable for you to dance on your own?
Yes.
Is that what it kind of makes you feel like you have
we're not saying your dance creativity doesn't work. It's like if you were by yourself at home and you wanted to create your own dance and nobody else is watching, that's what I would do.
Exactly.
And actually, I wanted to spot Emilia. You had written me feedback, and I remember you had mentioned that it was like a sing-along, like following the sing-along.
Yeah.
Would you like to maybe elaborate on what you had written?
Yes, it's a scroll when you do one step and then as soon you're doing it, you see the next one coming in, right? So you don't have to memorize what's coming. You just so this is what's next, and you just follow along. And you can either do it at whatever level we're in. If you're like in a beginner level and you know the alphabet, you'll be able to do like beginner steps, like a figure eight, a normal one. But if you're like more advanced and you like want to do a little bit more, then you do a different figure eight, like a one-hit figure eight or things like that. And you just do that as you see it coming. So you don't have to I forgot about this side or the other side. And as soon as it comes in, you just start dancing to it.
So Alexandra, and hearing all of these comments and feedback and reactions, how does that make you feel about? She's like, I want to shimmy. It makes me feel.
Sounds like
Yes.
I was putting together what I hear, and basically, for example, when you are at a basic level, it's good to have a scroll because it gives you, something to follow. But also when you're intermediate, like he was saying, you can realize that you can put the movements in other order and create your own choreography. So it does help you to express yourself, whatever vibration you have, your feeling, and how it is formed. Because by taking it to the visual level, you become more aware mentally. Whereas when you don't see anything, you just enjoy it, but you are not engaging into a mental process. So this is combining both things.
You feel confident.
I think you're more creative. But that's the thing that you guys give off building emotion.
Right. Exactly.
They're more focused on the music. Someone gives you the language, they give you the freedom to interpret it, so you're focused on the music and feeling it.
They seem to say everything about the project. I don't even have to talk.
Well, how does it make you feel to hear these reactions.
It makes me feel excited. Emotional.
A lot of work you've put into it, so. Is this like bad crying or are you sad?
Happy. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay,
You have something, it's beautiful.
Thank you.
Okay, well, so let's see.
That's all I can say.
It's okay, let it go.
So let's tell a funny story. I don't know if you let's break the ice here. So I don't know if you guys know this, but every single painting that my sister does, there's a muse, and that muse is me. So all of these paintings are basically inspired by her older sister, which is me. Yes. So
I drew something the other day that was not a person. And she's like, hey, look, that's me. And then she draws a little stick figure and sends it back. And she's like, look, it's me.
It was a little symbol, what is it called? An ankh. Do you guys know that symbol? So, like, the top was like the head and the arms, and the bottom was a princess dress. So,
It was a sun, and the ankh was on top. But
oh, because it was the sun was under it. So, oh my goodness. Okay, so let's ask the students this question. This one's kind of fun. So I understand that you guys were asked to perform the scroll several times. And sometimes it was filmed also. So how did you feel while you were simultaneously reading and dancing? And did you use the same moves or did you change them every time? So basically talk about the experience of that. Yes. Where did you, what's it?
Every time we read it and danced it was different, and I enjoyed so much. When the classes ended, it's like, oh, we're not having another class of this.
I have to make more. So you're saying the scroll was different every time?
No, the scroll was the same, but my interpretation was different according to that moment I was living in my life, and it was a different expression. So I think that it would be like when you read a book, sometimes you're going through something different in your life, and you interpret it, you read something different. And you can read the same thing many times and express it in a different way, interpret it in a different way. It's the same with your symbols, exactly the same.
Was it always the same song or? It was always Antoine.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, never changed.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That every time you danced it, you could, depending on how you felt at that moment, you would interpret the symbols differently. So it never came out exactly the same way, but it felt good because you were actually feeling the music. You didn't have to think so much about, I gotta do this next. So it was really, it gave you so much more interpretive freedom, and it was really nice.
I think it just gives you the freedom to interpret at that moment. Because if you do it again, then you do it different. And then you get more and more comfortable and, wow, I can dance this. You know, when you read the scroll. And it's like half of me is saying, wow, I'm dancing to this. And the other one is like, I'm reading this. And then you interpret it different and then it's a mixed feeling and it's awesome. It's really cool. Thank you.
You're welcome. Of course, thank you. I think the same. Every time I did it, it was a little bit different because I felt a little bit different. I ended up in a different position so I could try something different. And then that led me to say, well, I'm going to be a little naughty and I'm going to try to do something I haven't done before, something I'm not comfortable with, a combination that I haven't been taught but I think I could do. So I think again, that's the freedom that comes from doing whatever you see. I love doing.
Well, for me, I keep the same movements most of the time, but I was calm as I didn't have the structure of, for example, doing 2 or 3 undulations or 2 or 3 turns. I just saw the symbol of turn, and I did as many turns as I could in that frame of time with the music. I was able to listen more to the music than being counting or what is coming next. So that kept me more relaxed.
Yeah, it was never the same. Just like that, it didn't matter what direction to take or the speed of the move, it was always different.
When I started, I thought, oh, I'll script something and I'll just do that. And then I did, I had some idea of what I was going to do. And of course, I tried it, and every time, it's like, go back to your story, every time you're dancing, you feel different, and the story comes out, and then I realized, no, you don't want to do that. That's too stilted. I didn't have the time to get it together to really have a choreography, so then I just went with it, and it was very reassuring to just, you have a template, and you just dance with what, you have guidelines, and you just go with whatever you're feeling at the moment, and that made it so much easier.
So when you guys were, I guess it would have been towards the beginning when you maybe weren't familiar with all of the symbols, what was your experience like when you'd see a symbol and you were like, oh, I don't know what that is, or did you get stuck? What was that like? In the beginning, I guess this would be, because eventually, I guess you guys must know all the symbols already. So what was that like? Amy?
One of the things that was funny is we were doing it alone, at least for the, and so I realized it wouldn't matter that much. No, you're not going to mess anybody else up. You're not, and so that was actually reassuring as well. And it was only 10 symbols, so it wasn't overwhelming. I think we all learned them on the second day. It wasn't, insurmountable amount of material. But I was worried about that, and then I realized, you know what? I was supposed to be doing a snake arm, and I do a turn.
I think the pose at the end, I was like, okay, so what do I do? I'm just posing. But he filmed it twice with me, and I did it differently both times. So it's okay, it's a pose, you just have to stick it.
Which is this little stop.
It's just a stop.
Does anybody else want to elaborate on that? On learning the symbols, dancing for the first time, trying to figure out.
At the beginning, I thought that we would always, all of us, be dancing mostly something similar. But at the beginning, I was just focusing on looking at the symbol and myself. But then when I look around, it's like, oh no, we're doing different things. Totally different. And it's because each of us has a different interpretation of the same thing, and that was amazing. I was like, wow.
And that's why that's one of the biggest impressions that I got when I looked at all the videos that I documented, and it was wonderful because it gave me proof that Middle Eastern dance is geared towards everybody's personality. So everybody's going to be different. Your moves are going to look slightly different than everybody else's, but it's okay. That's what it's meant to be like, and that's the beauty of it. So that was my biggest impression. It was wonderful.
Yeah, it's kind of cool as from an instructor's point of view, one of our things once our students get to a certain level is trying to get them to free up from us to be able to okay, now it's your turn. You play a song, okay, it's okay for you to do this or that, and so this kind of, it seems like this gives you it's okay, do whatever, what I'm trying to say, this kind of gives you the okay to do whatever it is you really feel like doing.
Yeah,
so
to be even more comfortable with what you're passionate about, which is Middle Eastern dance. So it becomes an introverted, something that you look into yourself, and an introspective, that's what it is, an introspective, while you're looking at the work. And even when I perform it, it's different every time. I could have performed that, I don't know, 20 times, and it's gonna be very different. But it gives us as the viewers, as the observers of this this work something that you can be involved with and be introspective with yourself. What am I doing? How am I feeling? What is happening to myself? And what are the moves that I know? And how can I move my body in the way that I'm comfortable with, and that is me. You know, that is your unique personality. So, yes.
So can you perform it again? You can perform it like this. So girls, students, ladies, most of you've all been in choreographies. Yeah. So can you compare your experience in like learning a choreography for the theater, for something big, as compared to this? Talk about the difference and similarities of that.
I'd say this was easier in some ways. It's an interpretation, so you feel freer to do it your way. And then it was also just easier to acquire because she gave us the template and we, set it to our own personalities and desires, and so it was easier in many respects than trying to learn a choreography where your prompt is the music and what somebody else gave you. You have to memorize it here. You can change it up as you feel, or and you have both the visual and then the musical guidelines. So I felt it was an easier choreography. I say that loosely because it wasn't always the same, but it was an easier project. I think an easier piece to acquire.
Yeah, we didn't do it all the same steps or anything as for choreography in the theater. Everyone goes the same way. It's the same timing for everyone, and so it's very freeing for the person dancing.
Yeah, well, I feel more confident with these symbols because you have more freedom in choreography. In a show, you always fear of messing up. While seeing the objects, in the symbols, you feel better, more in control.
Yeah, I thought it was beautiful because in a choreography, you're focused on trying to do everything perfectly to be in tune with everyone else, and you know an audience is watching. This experience was amazing because we had the scroll, we did whatever we felt, and the only person that was actually there to judge what we did and to kind of measure it against was ourselves. So it was very interesting. It was very deep. It was focusing on ourselves and not on what the audience would perceive.
Well, at times you need a structure and you need a choreo to follow and do it the best you can and have fun with it. At the same time, you have this other option that you are inspired by the music and you have the scrolls and you can run with it and be creative. So you have the worlds. At times you have your choreo, which is good, and at times you have your inner creativity because they go, it's like a marriage. Sometimes you have this, sometimes you have, so you have the best of the both worlds. Somebody's better than a photographer. You go.
It's like school. It's like Saturday morning kids class. What's your favorite color?
Like Ginny said that choreography and this kind of dancing with the project, it shows two different focuses. Like in the project, we focus on individuality, but in the choreography, it's commonality. We together make a form for the audience to see, and it is important that we become lost into that shape, because we are creating shapes together as a whole, and that gives you a sense of community, which is nice because I'm part of this. But also when you have all the benefits of dancing individually, like when you do this interpretation, which you only can express how you feel, then it's another kind of dancing. So I think that it kind of enriches the ways we dance, because it doesn't take away something that we already have, but it's adding more aspects, more ways of dancing to another music and having, this language. Thank you, Alexandra.
Thank you. Now I can actually, with their response, I can actually say what I've been wanting to say. That one of the goals for this project was to bring back the dance to the dancer.
Yes.
So, and this is very significant because it's basically a metaphor for taking control of your life again. So I wanted to do that for the students because we're, in so many times we're always in classes, we're following teachers, we're following choreographies and routines and that sort of thing, but that's not you per se, that's not the dancer. So I wanted to give the students a chance to just come back into yourselves and dance for yourself in a very as open and as natural as possible. And even though there's guidelines to help, there's elasticity, there's plasticity in it. That's one of my main goals, and I'm glad that it worked.
And it's very much why we all belly dance too, right? That's one of the reasons why we all feel like it's like doesn't matter how old we are or what we look like, because this dance is welcomes your individuality, and that's why you can, we always laugh that we don't do duets because we argue because we see the music differently, but then that's like okay, so it kind of reassures that or reminds us of that. So that's one of the beauties of this dance form. So my final question will be for, as far as you, and then I have some questions for them, and then we're going to open the floor if you guys have any questions, and then we'll wrap it up. As far as the actual symbols, can you explain a little bit about their aesthetic, the visual choices you made? Tell us a little bit about them.
Sure. I was inspired by Japanese calligraphy. I love that culture. As many of you know, I'm a crazy tea fanatic, and I love tea. I love my ceremony. I love the cleanliness of the Asian aesthetic, I guess. And so I started for fun. I was listening to Middle Eastern dance music, and I was imagining the moves in my mind. Many times when I choreograph, I'm sitting, and I'm not really moving. I'm just thinking, and I'm visualizing in my head how am I dancing, what am I doing? And I started writing. And actually, some of these in this book are the first that I did. You guys get to see them. But that's what I started doing, and so even though it wasn't really inspired by Arabic calligraphy, it was more so Japanese, but it was still all fused. It became something worldly. So this was one of my first ones. I still read it right to left. They're completely different than what I have today, because this was back in 2012. But I started just imagining the way that I moved, and I started sort of writing as if I was taking mental notes. And that's how I got to my calligraphy. And little by little, I honed it down to the different categories of Middle Eastern dance, the hops and knocks, the hip drops, the footwork, the shimmies, etc., and I came up with this dance language. Visually speaking, this is how I came up with this.
Nice. So who's a belly dancer here? Can we show them? Can we maybe show, who would like to volunteer? Can we show them one? So they know what it is?
Sure, yeah, let's show them one.
Would anybody like to try it? Or
not that you have to dance
or
it.
yeah. Just guess what the move is.
Okay.
Yeah. No, you don't have to get up and dance.
So I would do it with my foot ones.
So, well, how
class, yeah? I'll just do for a couple of them. Let's see if you can see what this one would be.
Hip up and down.
Oh, good job, These are hip drops. Now, in Japanese calligraphy, it is about the movement of the writer, right? And it's about their feeling. And there's many types of Asian calligraphy, Chinese, Japanese, Korean. But the important thing is that wherever the brush goes, you go. Or wherever you go, the brush goes, really. So that means that in terms of belly dance, wherever you see the brush going, and when you look closely, you see the swatches, that's where the movement's going. So great. Basically, I start here, and it's nice and thick and heavy, and I swatch down, 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 and it's your hip. And depending on the thickness of the character, or the thinness, depends on how heavy your move is going to be. So let's say it's a very heavy, earthy hip drop. This is going to be pretty thick. But if it's a very thin, kind of very delicate hip drop, then it's a little more like, delicate. You'll mimic the way that the character looks. If I flip it around, then it becomes a hip lift because the swatch is going up. Let's do it.
Beautiful. Very good. Oh, this is. The hips. Yeah, it's like a, yeah.
What's the shape?
Oh.
A circle. A circle.
Yeah. A circle, yeah.
This means circle, which is different from turns. This could be a hip circle, a head circle, an arm circle, shoulder circle, any sort of like circle that you can think of, but not a body circle, which would be a turn. One more?
Yeah.
Yes? Is this fun? Okay, this one.
Undulation?
Yay! Undulation. Yes.
Oh, you can hear me. Yeah.
This is the only layered one I have. Ready with snake.
Oh, snake eyes.
Do you have a picture for the circle?
The circle?
I mean the turn.
The turn.
Excuse me.
Yeah, what's happening? I just had it. I don't know what others do it. Yeah.
That's a turn. Okay, all right.
These are turns.
Why?
It doesn't mean that you have to turn 3 times. It's because of the circular motion that I could draw it 2-dimensional.
So our legs and arms in air.
You see?
Yeah.
Right. It's like
And this would be yeah.
when you have like the scroll playing in between characters, does the spacing always change, or is the spacing always like the same in between the characters?
It changes, although I try not to keep it too far away because when I scroll it, I don't want it to. I want you guys to see what's coming next, so I don't distance them too far. Although when I scroll it, I have to. We did this so many times, Andres and I, my boyfriend. We had to scroll it to the music and then, go edit and all that stuff. So I have to.
So if you wanted them to like pause, you could make that space longer?
When we watch it again, yes. When we watch it again, you're gonna see the turn has a longer tail. This guy, the last one, it actually extends. So it goes back to the idea that whenever you see, let's say, a thicker line, it's a heavier movement, or a thinner line, it's a lighter movement, I can extend the movement. There's also an example of the undulations that I did more waves, not just 1, 2, but I did 1, 2, 3 because we had to continue undulating.
So you would benefit from seeing the performance again? Okay. Does anybody have, because now it's going to make more sense, do any of you have any questions or anything that you want to add or any comments that you have about the project?
One, I think adding new dimension to the dance mural. And you said that it's for dance students. At some beginning, I think it would help them to kind of like have a cue card, like, oh, this is new, this is new. So I think, like the idea to teach, we can or use that as a tool, something like that, teaching.
Like while I teach, like a beginner 1.
Exactly, yeah.
I gotta implement that into.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay.
It's very magical with the scroll. It feels very ancient. It's in the back, so like a very ancient time. I felt that. You're genius.
Anybody else have any questions or?
Okay, so let's say we're interpreting like a more high pace, like lots of changes. Like, we can still use this like to interpret the music, right? And then the other thing is like, is there any other dance that, or is there a dance that has some type of like written something like this somewhere else or not?
I know that there are, and off the top of my head, I can't remember exactly what it's called, but I know that there have been other dancers in the past and visualists who have created notations for other dances. However, it's more like a study than anything. But it's not something that ballet dancers will use, but there have been others that it's just off the top of my mind, I can't remember. It's a little embarrassing. But yes, but for other dances, but not much.
Yeah.
And I know there's been other dancers who have, or other artists who have, like, put a charcoal between their toes and danced around with, and drawn their movements. I mean, that's been happening since the 70s and 60s.
It's a very it's a different way of like interpreting and helpful for like, especially for teaching, I think, or like, what do I do here? Like, oh, this.
Here.
Do this.
Yeah, cool.
Anybody else?
Well, I want to say that the presentation was beautiful, practically educated with this, but really I understand, right now I understand when you sit down and explain, and if you explain and after the explanation you do your dance, I will absorb it.
Connect better, yeah.
So congratulations for the next time.
Yeah, cool, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I think, does anybody else have any comments or questions?
A couple of comments. I just wanted to say, like, and in the past, like, I've only seen it in cartoons. Like, you've seen like the directions on the floor with steps and line drawings and stuff like that. And it's
like in ballroom dance.
Yeah, exactly. And it just shows you like where to put your feet, but it doesn't show you what to do with your body. And like what I love about your characters is that they actually have a meaning. Like you get an idea of what you're supposed to do with the rest of your body, not just your feet. And the other thing I wanted to say is, although you only have 10 characters, getting a little technical here, you have so many combinations and so many interpretations with your line work and the line thickness and the length that you already have. Like, you have a dictionary, not just 10 characters, and I think that's really amazing that you were able to create that.
Thank you, yeah. Oh, and by the way, I completely missed to mention that arms and posture are completely up to the dancer, because there are so many different types of Middle Eastern dancers, Western, Eastern, Tribal, Egyptian, Turkish, that you can put your arms anywhere, you can move them around anywhere. unless I ask for a snake arm. That's the only time. But yeah, I forgot to mention that little detail. Anybody else?
Have you thought of adding like another one or no?
Another
Or have you
character?
like another yeah?
It hasn't come to me. But if you think of something.
Anybody want to say? Dad, do you want to say no? Comment about that. I've only taken one resiliency class. I just took my first one today. Oh, perfect. So, coming here, and it's a beautiful community, and this was really wonderful, really great insightful creative process, but just sitting there and watching Alexandra dance, even only taking one class, I was like, oh, I get it. That means that she's stepping, that means that she's undulating, that like I was putting it together, and it made a lot of sense because even in our class, you know, Portia would say, you know, like this is a figure eight. She would try and make a motion. She would say, think about it on the mirror. This is how you're moving your hips. This is how you're moving your body. And it makes so much sense to me. So I think that integrating it for a beginner, it really does make, at least from my perspective, it really makes sense. That kind of visual, motor, creative, and kind of brings everything together.
We're gonna test it out. You want to test it out on your kids?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, my kids would like go, yeah, they would love that. How cute would that be? They will probably know what all the moves are. They're so smart. I guess. Yeah. Let's do it. We'll take still on the
I'm great as well. I'm making
Thank you. Have fun.
She's going to dinner.
Ooh. Wow.
It's an idea that one is like like teaching what you can do.
I thought about so many things, but since it's just starting to grow, I first would like to at least take it on the road and teach it at maybe other belly dance schools or anybody who could, you know, is interested. So I think I'm going to take it on the road first, which by the way, I do have a little GoFundMe account that some of you have already donated to, so thank you so much, girls, thank you. But that GoFundMe account is specifically for this project so that I can save that money and take it on the road, because some people, you know, they can't sponsor, or sometimes they can, but you never know. It's always good. That's what's next. Wasn't that one of your questions too?
Well, my brain is thinking like, how nice would it be to have this performance at our annual show in the theater?
Oh, yes. Oh,
yeah.
wow.
That's where my brain is right now. Sorry. She knows that my brain, sometimes she talks to me and I'm like, no. She's like staring at me and I'm thinking about something else.
Yeah.
Usually it's good thoughts, so that's where my brain is right now.
So, little by little, yes.
We're gonna get to dance a little bit, right? So we can play with it now?
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want me to dim the lights again and you can try it out for yourself?
Yeah.